How critical thinkers see the world differently and why you should care. What if the world you know isn't the whole story? Critical thinking isn't about one's IQ. It's simply about perspective. The way you see things shapes your life. Today, discover how critical thinkers find clarity amidst chaos and learn simple tools to transform your decisions. By the end of this video, you'll gain a fresh perspective on the world and the tools to tackle challenges like never before. The illusion of certainty. When you get much older, you start to notice how much of life is just smoke and mirrors. The world we live in? It's curated. Every ad you scroll past, every flashy headline, every polished post, it's all crafted to nudge you toward someone else's agenda. I've spent decades running businesses, and trust me, marketers are masters at it. Society doesn't exactly hand out gold stars for thinking differently either. It's designed to reward folks who fit the mold, not those who dare to ask, why? If you accept everything at face value, you risk becoming a character in someone else's story. I'll give you an example. Back in the 80s, I invested in a foolproof stock tip from a trusted friend. Didn't ask too many questions. Why would I? Everyone else seemed to believe in it. The tip turned out to be less foolproof and more fool-made. That loss taught me to stop taking things at face value. Better to dig deeper and ask uncomfortable questions than to get caught swimming with the tide while someone else steers the current. Now here's a thought experiment for you. Imagine you woke up tomorrow and realized that half of what you believed about money, success, or even love was incomplete or downright false. What would you change? For me, that moment came after I retired. All those years I thought were about building wealth, they were really about chasing purpose, something I wish I'd figured out earlier. As Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Critical thinkers have a knack for stepping back and questioning the illusion of certainty. And when you do that, you start to see the world differently. You notice opportunities to live a life true to your values, not someone else's checklist. So, the next time you see a headline screaming for your attention or a product promising the world, pause. Ask yourself, who benefits if I believe this? The truth is that it might not be you. The mindset of a critical thinker. Let me tell you something else about critical thinkers. They see the world like a gardener tends to a garden, not just planting seeds, but understanding the soil, the seasons, and the careful balance. Take a routine task, for instance. While a casual thinker gets through it, a critical thinker considers its impact, the long-term results, and what's needed for growth. 3 things set critical thinkers apart. First, they ask better questions. While most people ask, what's the catch? A critical thinker wonders, who benefits from me falling for this? That mindset saved me during a business venture years ago. Everyone raved about the deal, claiming it was a surefire win. But something didn't sit right. Instead of jumping in, I paused and looked deeper. The fine print revealed legal loopholes that could have torpedoed the whole thing. I was able to avoid disaster with the right mindset. Second, they connect the dots. Thinking critically is all about spotting how different pieces of information relate to each other. It's the ability to see how facts, ideas, or events fit together and affect one another. Critical thinkers don't just accept things as they are, they ask questions, dig deeper, and make connections. By doing this, you can get a better understanding of the bigger picture, uncover hidden truths, and spot inconsistencies. This approach helps make smarter, more informed decisions. Finally, critical thinkers embrace discomfort. They know that growth happens in those uncomfortable moments. Maybe someone tells you something you've worked hard on isn't up to standard. It stings, right? But instead of brushing it off or getting defensive, you take a moment to sit with that uneasy feeling. You ask yourself, what can I learn from this? That's where growth happens. By facing tough feedback or uncomfortable truths, you give yourself a chance to improve and move forward. It's not easy, but that's the point. Progress doesn't come from staying comfortable. You have to lean into the discomfort to grow and see things more clearly. As the late Carl Sagan said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. It's not about being a cynic. It's about being curious enough to think deeper and brave enough to act on it. Why this perspective changes everything. The world may not always make sense, but when you think critically, you're not just a spectator, you're in the driver's seat. Too often people drift through life, following routines and trusting others to decide their direction. But if you question the norm, challenge every assumption, and make decisions that truly align with who you are, you stop being a passive observer and start becoming the author of your own story. Critical thinking brings so much freedom. When I was younger, I spent far too much time chasing trends, business fads, financial tips, and even parenting advice. It wasn't until I stopped listening to the noise and started trusting my own judgment that I found my stride. Forming your own opinions, rooted in real thought and research, is liberating. Suddenly, you're no longer swayed by every shiny headline or well-dressed expert at a conference. It also gives you control. Life isn't just something that happens to you anymore. You get to decide what matters. I remember once being offered a dream job that came with an amazing salary and perks. However, something about the company's culture didn't feel right. Everyone told me I was crazy to pass it up, but I trusted my gut and said no. 6 months later, the company made headlines for toxic management and mass layoffs. That decision wasn't easy, but by asking the right questions and staying true to myself, I avoided a disaster. And then there's resilience. Whether it's an unexpected setback, a health challenge, or family troubles, resilience keeps you moving forward. Critical thinkers adapt because they've trained themselves to handle uncertainty without panicking. I think of it like sailing. The wind doesn't always blow your way, but if you understand the currents and adjust your sails, you'll get where you need to go. That's the power of critical thinking. It doesn't just help you see the world differently, it enables you to live differently. Instead of coasting along, hoping for the best, you're steering with purpose. And in a world full of distractions and detours, there's no better way to travel. 2 actions to begin seeing the world differently. So, how do you start living with purpose instead of just drifting? Seeing the world differently doesn't mean upending your life overnight. It's about small, deliberate shifts. 2, in particular, have served me well. First, there's the 5 why rule. Whenever you're faced with a belief, claim, or decision, ask why 5 times. Trust me, it's like peeling back layers of an onion. You might cry a little, but you'll get to the core. For example, I used to think I needed every new gadget on the market. Why? Because they promised to save time. Why was that so important? Because I felt busy. Why was I so busy? You get the idea. By the 5th why, I realized half those gadgets were solving problems I didn't even have. Try it. Maybe start with why you skip breakfast every morning. You'd be amazed at the answers lurking beneath the surface. The second action, step back from the noise. We live in a world that's louder than ever. News, social media, and ads, they're all competing for your attention and not necessarily for your benefit. For years now, I decided to take 1 day a week to unplug. No screens, no headlines, no notifications. Instead, I'd sit in my backyard, sip coffee, and think about a big question I'd been dodging. That habit taught me more about myself and my priorities than any self-help book ever could. If a full day feels daunting, start with 30 minutes. Turn off your phone, step outside, and just let your thoughts breathe. These 2 actions might seem small, but they can rewire the way you see the world. And who knows? They might just help you grab the wheel and drive your life in a direction that finally feels right. Seeing the world differently isn't about saying no to it, it's about saying yes to your ability to think for yourself. It's about living with curiosity, intention, and purpose. So try any of the steps we covered today and let us know how it went in the comments. If you're ready for more insights to unlock your true potential, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and here's to thinking critically and living boldly.